ship cruising. Done perfectly.
Hey everyone, welcome back to FKW. I'm Charlie. Today we're going to do that $5 kitchen knife. Remember the one I was telling you about that you had a requisition from your wife's drawer? Well, we're going to get that done today. This will last you a lifetime. Let's get to work. Alright, let's go over the materials that are going to be needed for this. Number 1, a marker. Number 2, kitchen knife. Number 3, a piece of 1/2-inch tubing, metallic. You could use brass tubing if you have it. You could use copper tubing if you have it. I prefer EMT, even galvanized will work, but I use electric metallic tubing. An ice cream handle. And some JB Weld steel stick. Alright, so this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be taking a knife, putting it inside the tube to the desired length that we want for this knife to be protruding from this end, and then we're just going to mark. And when we're done marking that, put an X on that, we're going to cut that piece off. And what you should end up with at that point is a cut-off knife. Once you've gotten to this point, real simple, we're going to go over to a grinder and we're going to scruff this all up real good. But before we do that, I'm going to take a piece of shop cloth, soak it in isopropyl alcohol, and run it down through here and pull through a couple of times just to get any residual greases or oils that are inside this pipe out. Alright, we're going to be moving over to the grinder. I'll see you in a second. Okay, now that we're over at the grinder, what we want to do is scruff this up a bit, and you'll see what I'm talking about. That looks about right. Alright, we're going to let this cool, and then we'll get back inside and get the rest of the work done. Alright, now we've got our JB Weld stick, the steel stick, out of the casing. And what we're going to do, as you can see, it's different colors. We're going to blend it. For those of you who don't know, it has to be blended to get the epoxy moving, and the hardener and the resin to adhere, so you get a uniform color. It'll be almost a light charcoal gray when done. Now you could use a syringe epoxy if you wanted to, a 2-part syringe epoxy with the tube. A lot messier. Now you don't have much time to work with this. You have 5 minutes tops. And I can feel it heating up in my hand already. So what I'll do is I'm going to keep packing this in to a point so I can look down in and see we're about halfway up the tubing. And then I'll stick this here, take my knife and push it all the way down through the epoxy. And you'll see it starting to come out the back end here. I'll just cap that off. That's done for that part of epoxy. Working quickly again. I'm just going to keep breaking off chunks. Then using the ice cream stick, I'm going to get it all down in there. Again, as you go, keep straightening your blade to the tube. And then keep checking the base. Don't worry about all this extra slag on the back, because that's not going to matter in the end. And finish it off the best you can here by pushing down on the base. It'll bring up any excess on the top. Then take the remainder, get it all tacky. And then pull off what you need just to finish your upper edge, and put a little bit extra on the bottom. And then gently, by using the ice cream stick here, take what you don't need from the top. And clean up your blade a little bit. But again, I'm not too worried about that. All right. And what you basically have now is a mess. That's all right. And we have a little bit of a mess, but we're good to go. And then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, like I do with all the other epoxies, just go ahead and take this epoxy, just wrap it around the ice cream handle, stick it in the vise, and let it sit. That's going to let me know how this epoxy reacted inside this piece of pipe, so I'll know what the adherence was from my blade to the tubing. All right, and then we're going to move on. See you in a second. Okay, I happen to have another one that I did yesterday. I like to let the epoxy sit for 24 hours, although it says it's only 6-hour epoxy. What I'm going to do is clean this up. I've already cleaned it up a little bit just by scraping it. But now I'm going to go over to my grinder and really clean this up. I suggest you wear gloves on this. This thing's going to get hot. see, cleaned up the handle real nice, cleaned up my ends real nice on either side, up next to the blade. And now it's on to some blade finishing. We'll be right back. Alright, now we're to this point. What I want to do is just clean this blade up a little bit, make it not look like a butter knife anymore. So I'll bring it onto this machine here. And we're just going to rough down our outside, get rid of some of this epoxy, and then we'll start putting in our inset for the blade line. Again, this is going to get real hot. Alright, now we'll start doing some inset lines for our blade. See what we get. As you can see, my inset lines are now being set in on this side. Now I'm just going to flip it over and get rid of that. The stem line starts to bring it to this point. By doing the back of the blade, I'm getting a little bit of an arch down here now, which is going to let me refine this point just a little bit more. Now lightly, and lightly. Oh, that is a razor blade right now. And as you can see, I took this down, but I still have a burr here. I took this piece out, just giving it a little bit more of an arch. Feels good in the hand. That's definitely going to work for clams and oysters, gutting fish. Let's just refine this edge a little bit. Run over to 1000 grit. I'll see you in a second. Alright, I'm over at 1000 grit, being that this is such a thin blade, because it's a butter knife. I'm just gonna knock that burr off. Alright, now we're going to move on to this wheel here. I'm going with the medium. And then I'll go over to the real soft. All right. Now from this point here, you go over to clear coat. You can use any Rust-Oleum paint or any metal paint, whether it be clear, durable top coat, which I like to use, or you can move over to crystal clear enamel or a metallic finish, just to coat this up so you don't get any rust. And let's look at one that's already done with all the coatings. Be right back. Okay, today we started with your standard kitchen knife. And we ended up with a lifetime fishing knife. Great. Shucking clams, oysters, gutting fish. It'll last you forever. It didn't cost you more than $5. It's got decent weight to it. There's a couple things I know I can do with that. But I'll tell you, for what it costs, you can't lose from this to this. So if your wife says to you, well, am I going to get my knife back? Say, yeah, you're going to have it back. It's just not going to look the same. Shh, don't say. Don't tell her that part. That's what you'll end up with. You guys have a blessed day, and I'll see you on the next upload.